Hi, and welcome back to ENTP Life. We're on episode 2 of how to start a home healthcare agency. My name is Carl Pierre. I am the, creator of ENTP Life. Here on ENTP Life, we mostly talk about real estate, business, and pretty much anything else that I'm interested in. And I have done quite a few videos on the businesses that I am in, and one of them is home healthcare. And I've gotten a lot of interest in how to start a home healthcare agency, so I decided that I was going to document that process. Now, the cool thing is I just relocated to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I have my main home care business in New York. So I decided that I was going to create another home care agency here in the state of Florida and really try to grow that company from the seed level to a publicly traded company. And I'm going to do my best to document that all here. Now, if this is something that you'd be interested in, please hit that subscription button and don't forget to like this video. If you have any questions at all throughout this video or in any phase, please leave them in the comment section below. I'd love to answer your questions. Now, in the first episode, what I told you to do is that the first step is going to be really researching what's happening in home care in your home state. Now, for the most part, home care is managed on a state-to-state basis, and it's the Department of Health that's going to be doing your licensing. So as I started to do my research, all I did was Google home healthcare agency licensing. So the first thing that popped up in Florida was AHCA, or the Agency for Healthcare Administration. Now, it seems that this organization is responsible for all licensing matters related to healthcare. And as I was scrolling through, I came across the section for home healthcare. And it clearly says it, home healthcare, licensing, regulations, state laws, etc. So if you just go to your Google browser and search for your state home healthcare licensing or home healthcare rules and regulations, you're most likely going to be routed to your Department of Health website or the organization that's handling things in your state, and you'll be able to quickly search and browse through your home state's site and determine where to get that information. Now, this information is critical because it's pretty much lays the foundation for what you're going to be doing going forward. What I mean by that is that you're going to have to design your home care agency around the state regulations, okay? And that's how it is in every state. They're gonna give you the guidelines up front that says, hey, these are our expectations of any licensed agency. Now, you're gonna have to create your business around these rules and regulations in order to maintain compliance with our state laws. Usually in this section, you're gonna find that there's also the application process, and it's gonna detail everything. The application is going to be either a document or PDF. You're going to download it and you're going to see what are the details associated with filling out this information. What are you going to need to have in order to do so? Sometimes there's going to be a checklist. Sometimes in the applications it's going to tell you directly where in the regulations you need to kind of sync up. In reading those rules and regulations, you're also going to see what are the underlying basic requirements. And what I found for Florida is that they require you to have a few critical employees in your initial application. Those critical employees are your director of nursing, an alternate director of nursing, your administrator, which pretty much is like your chief operating officer for a home care agency, and you're going to need an alternate administrator, okay? That's the basic requirements for the initial team. And they want that initial team to have a certain amount of experience. And luckily, it's from 1 to 3 years of relevant experience, either in supervisory roles or supervisory roles within a home care agency. The way that this is proven is through your resumes, okay? So if you're not one of these people and you're starting a home care agency, you're going to need to find the nurses that have the relevant experience and the administrative staff that do as well. Now, there's people out there who are looking to get into the home healthcare industry because it seems lucrative, and by all means you should, but remember, you're going to have to organize yourself with people who understand the business and people who meet the qualifications of your state. So if you're someone who's a complete outsider to healthcare and this is just a business play for you, you're gonna have to find the people with the relevant experience that also match your state's regulations. Fortunately for me, I have the experience to be that administrator, and my co-founder as well, because we've been working within the capacity of management and supervision within my previous home care agency, and we satisfy that administrative role. But now we're on the hunt to find the nurse that's going to satisfy the nursing requirements, okay? So we're gonna have to find 2 nurses here in Broward County that are licensed at least in the state of Florida, that have their experience and that also match with us as far as chemistry of working together. So now that we covered the basics of where to find the information, where to get your license application, let's really talk about what I observed on the license for Florida, or the license application for Florida. There's about 14 critical fields, and they seem pretty straightforward. Once you read through the application in your state, you'll get a sense of, what is the state looking for? Now, the things that stick out to me is that first they're asking for your basic credentials, right? Who are you? Who's applying for this license? They're also asking for the information on the business. They're asking for its tax ID number, the legal name of the business, and also your national provider ID number, which is your NPI number. Now that's more or less like your social security number, but from a healthcare standpoint, okay? So those of you who have a business know that the EIN, or the employer identification number, or the TIN, the tax identification number, is the social security number for your business. When you're running a healthcare operation, there's also what's called an NPI number. The NPI number is like the social security number for the healthcare business, or the billing side of that provider, okay? It's the National Provider Identification Number. Now, the importance of the NPI is that it's the number that is going to be associated with all of your billing, okay? So if you have any kind of delinquencies in your practice, that's the number that gets red flagged, that gets pinged, okay? It's completely separate from your tax ID number, and it's a number that you're gonna have to apply for independently, okay? So these are the basic information that they're asking for on the application. Then as you go through the application, you're gonna see things related to the team. Who's involved? Who are the players that satisfy the minimum employee requirements to work within the home care agency? So they're gonna wanna know those people's information, who they are, license numbers if they apply. They're gonna ask for work experience, sometimes in the form of an additional upload, or in the form of just writing in the space required, okay? Which takes me to another point. What I like about Florida's application is that they make it available for you to complete online or in paper. So you could do the entire process online. So that helps you stay a little more organized than having to mail things in to the state that could potentially get lost, and the tracking is very difficult. So I thought that was one of the cool things about Florida's application. As you go through the application a little further, they're also asking you who's on your board. Now, if you remember in the first episode of this series, I said it's gonna be very important for you to figure out who's gonna be on your team, okay? Team building is probably, I would say, in the top 3 important things for you in your business, okay? And this is where a lot of people drop the ball. Without having a rock solid team from the beginning, your policies are gonna stink, the way that you administer employees are gonna stink, and maybe even the approach to growing your business is gonna stink. And I know this sounds terrible because in healthcare, we tend to start a lot of the organizations with our family, right? Because it's usually you who's the healthcare professional and your significant other who might have the business acumen, and you decide, hey, let's do this together. That may be great because it feels good to work together, but that team may be inadequate to really be successful in this field. So I like the fact that they're asking you about your team, because I think it forces you to really take a look at who's on your team and who's on your board as well. Who are the people who are going to be advising you on how to approach this business, and advising you on the laws, advising you on medical practices? These are the things that you're going to want to have kind of really rock solid players, right? If you're putting together an Olympic team, or you're putting together an all-star team, you're trying to get the best person for each position. And you should approach your business the same way. When you're starting an agency, try to put together the best team possible. Don't think about money. That tends to be, a problem that we have. It's like we think, oh my God, to get the best talent, I'm gonna need, the most money. That is true most of the time, but oftentimes there's really good talent out there that just want to be part of something new. They want to have a voice in a new operation. So that is more attractive to them than the job that they're in, where they have no control, no say in the direction that they go. So forming a new business, that gives you, a little bit of an edge, because you may be attractive to people who are highly talented, who want that, freedom to move and create, and that's really one of the factors that people overlook. So don't sell yourself short on trying to find the best possible talent that you can. Look at that section of the application as your opportunity to really do something different and set yourself up for success. Later in the application, I also noticed that there's the typical background information on the players who are involved, right? Whether it's a transfer of ownership or a new licensing, they're asking who's involved, because they want to make sure that nobody there is of low, moral standards, okay? So they're looking for criminal history, they're looking for anybody who's been penalized for Medicare or Medicaid fraud. They're going to ask you for those disclosures, and most of the time you have to submit to a background check. So sometimes it involves fingerprinting that proves that, hey, this person is on the up and up and is not immoral. You're dealing with people's lives, and you're dealing with very sensitive information. So having, a conviction or having a criminal record is probably going to eliminate you from the runnings, especially if you have like a felony level criminal history. If you have a misdemeanor for, let's just say a DUI, or you got into a bar fight or something like that, those things don't necessarily eliminate you from the running. So don't be discouraged if you do have a criminal past, but if you have felony level criminal past or anything fraud related, you may be out of the runnings. So coming across that early on is also critical. Now, the fee structure, every state is going to be different as far as how much they charge you for the licensing. Here in Florida, it is $1,705, which I think isn't so bad, right? Because the fees could go much higher, or in some states it may only be like $200. So you really have to consult with your Department of Health or the agency that's handling it, so that you know what the fee structure is. On the Florida application, it's explicitly stated how much the fee is and how they want that fee to be paid. And as you can see, it is a lot of information. And the application process is really about organizing yourself and setting the foundation for your business, right? I hope that's the point that you got so far, because you're going to have to structure and set everything up to match that application. Within that application, they're also asking for your business plan. They're asking for how you plan on managing your practice, which is more or less your policy and procedures, and everything related to how you're going to function as an agency. Are you capitalized well enough? How much money are you showing on your books? All of this is part of the application. And if you're going to be filling out this application, you're going to start needing to organize yourself. So what I highly recommend is that you just create either a shared folder, Dropbox, Google Drive, or whatever the service is out there, or you just create a folder on your computer that's going to be dedicated to your business, and you're going to have obviously subfolders within. You're going to want to create a folder for your application, and you're going to want to create a checklist so that you're making sure that you're satisfying all the points of your application. It sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. Just keep yourself organized to avoid problems in the future. Now, I think the most challenging part of this application is going to be assembling your team, because finding quality people takes time, okay? Another difficult piece is going to be the policy and procedures. Oftentimes, you could try to search for policy and procedures online, try to find home care agencies within your state that somehow have their policies and procedures published on their website. That's a great place for you to grab somebody else's policy and procedures and lay the foundation for your policies and procedures. Drafting policies for a home care agency is going to be difficult, okay? Because you're going to have to create policies on personnel. How do you hire that personnel? How do you fire that personnel? How do you ensure that that personnel is properly trained and continues to be trained? Their healthcare compliance, their legal compliance. Everything on personnel is going to be one portion of your policies. You're going to need to have policies on your clients, right? Those patients that you're servicing. How are you managing their files? How are you ensuring that you're maintaining HIPAA compliance, at all times? How do you ensure that all of the people who are in contact with your patients are of good health? Their care plan, policies, everything having to do with the patient is going to have its own set of policies. So you're going to need forms that are going to have to be approved. It's a lot to put together, okay? So you're going to want to kind of start segregating that file, that master file, into these different parts. And the really good thing is that the regulations give you at least some guidance on what should be in your policies. So if you're not able to rip policies from another agency within your state, you can at least start drafting policies on your own from the regulations. It is a heavy lift, all right? Now, I have experience doing that, and what I decided to do is just forego this entire process by doing it myself and hire a consultant that deals with licensing home healthcare agencies, all right? And that's what I recommend to everybody, because you don't want to put in years of putting together policies and procedures to just kind of miss on the growth within your market. You want to shrink that time down as much as possible, and you want to make sure that it's accurate, okay? If you're working with a consultant, they're going to have proven policy and procedures and systems in place to help you get from the idea of starting to launching your agency and getting licensed in as short of a time as possible. Of course, that comes at a cost, but if you look at the time savings and how much you're paying, typically it's going to be well worth it. I might have mentioned this before. On average, it might cost you anywhere from $15,000 on the low side for a consultant to as much as $50,000 on the high side for a consultant. And depending on what state they're in and how big their teams are going to dictate what their fee structure is going to be, okay? Go with whoever you think is the best fit. If you don't want to deal with a consultant and you want to do it yourself, like I said, you have a mission ahead of you. I'm not going to disclose who we're using just yet as our consultant, because we're in maybe the third or fourth week now of the process. So I really don't know how good they are. I like them from the beginning. Of course, that's why I chose them. But I'll mention who they are after I've cleared the licensing process, so that I know for sure what are their pros and cons, and I can advise you properly. I don't want to go out there in episode number 2 and say, this is the consultants that you should use, to find out that they're terrible, and then I recommended something to the public that wasn't truly vetted by me. So if you've already gone through the research of your state, please let me know what state you're focusing on in the comment section below, and how it varies from the procedure that I just told you here. Because there's going to be people from all over the country watching this series, so the more information that we can contribute to the comment section, the better it is for everybody, right? Let's not be selfish with our information and share what we can. What I'm going to do in the description below is that I'm going to also put some reference links for the information related to the organization that's handling things in Florida. That way, I can help you with the Google search, okay? You can bypass that if you're in Florida, and that way anybody who's looking to start in Florida has at least that point of reference to start with. If you have any questions, please, again, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them. If you're not already a subscriber and you did like this video, please make sure that you subscribe, turn your notification bell on, because that's going to alert you as to whenever we put out another video, and it helps to promote the video further. If you're thinking about getting this agency started with a friend or family members or maybe a colleague, also share this video with them so that they can be in the loop and know exactly what you are learning, and that helps you kind of build that network around what you're doing. Now, if there's anything that I missed or anything that I misspoke on and you have that correct answer, also leave that in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for joining me here at ENTP Life. I hope this video has been useful for you, and please stay tuned for the next one. In the next video, we're going to be discussing what we're doing to put together our team, okay? That's the most critical part, or one of the most critical parts to this process. The application and policies and procedures are kind of, a big piece of it, but without a team that's going to execute on our plan, we're going to be nothing. And we're in that process now of recruiting and interviewing, and it's probably, to me, one of the most fun parts of creating a new organization is finding that human talent. So in the next episode, we're going to be talking, it's going to be me, myself, my partner who is an expert in human resources, and we're going to be talking about what is it like to be putting together a team, how to look at approaching that process, and what tools you should be using in order to find the best possible candidates. Once again, thank you for joining me here at ENTP Life. I hope you enjoyed. Take care.